Welcome back, collectors! I got an awesome video for you guys today showing you my 1984 vintage Hot Wheels collection. This thing is complete. All the cars you could ever find in 1984 and a lot of really rare variations. Some that took me years to find and cost hundreds of dollars. I'll be taking you through the entire collection today with all of the pricing that I have for my years of buying them and looking them up online. Can't wait to show you all these cars. Let's get into it right now. 1984 was an exciting year to collect Hot Wheels. Lots of new castings, some amazing new paint jobs, a few new series worth noting, including Action Command. This was an Army type vehicle series. The introduction of Ultra Hots on the series aptly named Ultra Hots. The return of the Extras series featuring removable parts. And of course, the ever popular Real Riders series came back with a plethora of new vehicles featuring gray or white hubs. Some of these had movable features, including raised axles and opening hoods. And the Mainline had lots of cool cars featuring opening hoods. Big trucks, including one of my favorite, the phone truck. Looks like a big old GMC to me. We're going to talk about all these vehicles. First, I'm going to identify them all for you, and then we'll get into some pricing. Hope you enjoy the video. These shiny gold cars you see before you, the 80s Firebird and Camaro Z28, were only available in a mail-away offer to Mattel. Not sure exactly how that worked, possibly a UPC mail-away for buying a certain number of cars at your local department store. But who knows for sure. I've looked it up, I don't find any information on it. At any rate, those are those two cars. Pricing for those, roughly around $15 a car if you find them in mint condition. Once again, I will reiterate that all pricing I give in my guide is for a mint loose car. I don't do pricing for carded cars because I collect my cars loose. I will begin just with the names of each of the cars. Here we have the 57 Chevy, 65 Mustang, 80s Corvette, 80s Firebird, 82 Supra, 3-window 34, Auburn 852, Baja Breaker, Chevy Blazer 4x4, blown Camaro Z28, Camaro Z28, Frito-Lay delivery van, Flat Out 442, Ford Escort, Good Humor truck, Rapid Transit, got two of those, Rolls-Royce Phantom 2, the split window 63 Corvette, Thunderbird Stalker, Turbo Heater, Turbo Mustang, two paint variations of that Turbo Mustang. And now into the workhorses, we have the phone truck, Highway Hauler, and from the Extras series, the Oshkosh Snowplow. And now from the Ultra Hots series, these cars were named after the new wheels designated Ultra Hot. Some of these cars have had their names changed for the series. One of these is the BMW M1, now known as the Wind Splitter. Then we have the Flame Runner, Predator, known formerly as the Porsche 928, Solaire CX4, two variations, Speed Seeker, and Quick Trick, based on the Race Bait 308 casting. The Action Command line of vehicles introduced two new castings for the year, including the Battle Tank in two camo colors, and the Troop Carrier with three variations we'll get into momentarily. Everyone's favorite series of the day and a premium line of vehicles, the Real Riders. Here we have Jeep Scrambler, Dream Van XGW, Dodge Rampage. Oh, caught the top of the phone truck there. Baja Bug, Baja Breaker. Very rare version right there with the white rims. We'll talk about that. 3-window 34. These cars are both the same, but There should be a white rim version. It is also very rare. I do not have that one. Still on the hunt. We'll talk about pricing on that momentarily as well. Lightning Gold. And the 63 split window Corvette. The 57 Chevy. This is an awesome casting with a really nice yellow paint job, red flames with a black line through the car. It was later seen with a blue line, but not until 1990. So the definitive thing to look for on these cars is the black line. It was featured primarily with the gold Hot One wheels, but very uncommonly could be found with these black wall wheels you see before you. The cars featured a one-piece blue tint, window and interior, and a chrome plastic base stamped Malaysia. Some could be found possibly with Hong Kong, as this casting has been around since 1977, and the base has been fairly much unchanged. Values for these cars range from about $10 mint loose for the gold Hot One version, pictured here. The black wall version took me a very long time to find, and I paid $65 for that car plus shipping. 1984 introduced a brand new casting, the 65 Mustang. This Ford Mustang featured an opening hood, revealing a very detailed engine. It was an all-metal base and body. Featured a Malaysia base. No Hong Kong variations of this car that I know of. Very detailed interior, as you can see by the steering wheel, seats, and dashboard. And, of course, white wall wheels. This is a very common casting, and many of these cars were produced throughout the years 84 and beyond. This simple variation, though, the first of its type, did not have any tampos, unlike many of the later years which featured a yellow Mustang tampo on the side. This earlier variation can be easily duplicated, however, by smudging off your tampos on later year models. However, the bright red of the paint is not the same. Therefore, this car is worth approximately $10 in mint loose condition. Now, in its second year of production for this casting, the 80s Corvette featuring an opening hood, plastic top with two-tone plastic interior, and of course the luggage in the back. In 1983 it was released with silver or gray paint and gold Hot One wheels. Now it features a red paint job. The hood is quite sturdy and will stay open on its own. It still features a Hong Kong printed base. This car is worth about $5 to $10. Another casting Carry Ford from 1983. This is the 80s Firebird. It was previously released with red paint, now featuring gloss black paint, the bird tampo on the hood, and a red plastic interior. It was found with gold Hot One wheels as seen in the foreground, or with the black wall wheels. Both versions are fairly easy to come across for about $5 mint. The 80s Firebird with the gold chrome paint mail-away offer, as I had said earlier, was not so easy to find and still isn't. It's worth about $15, not being extremely rare, but still a harder vehicle to find. Featured a red bird on the hood, a maroon interior, and the same plastic base. However, only found with gold Hot One wheels, no black wall wheel variation for that one. This gold Camaro Z28, also from the mail-away offer, featured only gold Hot One wheels, an all-metal base, stamped Hong Kong. The solid black windows reveals no interior. It is a heavy car though, and worth about $15, as it is a harder one to find as well. The 82 Supra, Toyota Supra. This is a wonderful casting, one of my personal favorites. Carried forward also from 1983, when it then featured a black paint job and detailed taillight tampos. This solid metal casting, other than the windows and interior, can be found for around $10 in mint loose condition. The 3-window 34, based on a Ford 34 Coupe. This casting features an all-metal body and base, plastic fenders, black plastic I should mention, as in later years it will be found with dark brown plastic fenders as well. This one has a Malaysia base and the High Rakers jack-up rear axle. This mainline version has the basic black wall wheels on it and can be found for about $10 to $20 in this condition. We will look at its Real Rider cousins as we get into the Real Riders after these mainline cars have been reviewed. This is a beautiful example of the Auburn 852 Speedster, featuring an all-white body made of metal and plastic fenders, metal base, chrome-trimmed plastic windshield. This car can be found for around $10 to $20 as well, and is one of my favorite color schemes for this vehicle on the Classic series. The Baja Breaker, featuring the A-Team Tampa work on it, an all-metal casting with a plastic opening and closable hood. This vehicle is a pretty tough one to find in mint loose condition such as this, running you anywhere between $20 and $30. Again, we will look at the Real Rider versions I have of it at the end of this video when we look at the Real Rider cars. Another favorite for me is the 4x4 Blazer with the Chevrolet stamped on the back, an all-metal casting featuring the off-road wheels, and opening and closing doors. Very nicely, I might add. This vehicle has since been re-released with a plastic base. Nowadays, you may have it in your collection or seen it in the stores. However, it doesn't compare to the quality of 1984 when you got all of these movable parts and metal. This version was released several times over the years with minor variations to the base and to the wheels, however not to the metal or paint job and tampa work. This first production run of the vehicle can be found for around $10. Yet another brand new casting for 1984, just like the Blazer. We've got the Camaro, blown Camaro Z28, featuring the black paint job, three-tone tampo striping on the sides, a nice big chrome blown plastic engine, metal base with side pipes. This is a really fast car and even features some suspension on those gold Hot One wheels. Commonly found, however, even to this day. I picked this one up for $10 mint in the package before I cracked it. The Camaro Z28 makes a re-return to the casting lineup with this metallic burgundy paint job and tampa work on the hoods and sides. All metal base with gold Hot One wheels. This car is worth around $10 to $15. The delivery van, featuring opening back plastic doors and a Frito-Lay tampa work on each side. This is a highly collectible piece. For some reason it wasn't produced in all that much of a quantity, and also it is a collector's item beyond just the die-cast enthusiasts. For that reason, this van often catches $70 to $80 mint loose on the eBay market, and upwards of $100 if it can be found in the packaging. Another classic casting, this is the Flat Out 442 in the Canadian only released green paint. This car could not be found in the United States or anywhere else, only released in Canada. This car is all metal and features a similar tampa work as it has seen throughout the years back into the late 1970s. This version, however, being so rare, often fetches $75 or more, and I have not seen it sell in packaging more than once. I don't recall the price then, but it was around $150 at least. The Ford Escort GT, last seen in 1983 with a black paint job. This spiffy number now features a yellow paint job with the blue and red tampa work and Ford emblems. Black plastic bumpers and rear fin are part of the interior piece. It does feature a metal base and clear headlights, part of the window piece. Quite a clever model, very well cast by Mattel, and worth around $30 to $45 due to its rarity. The Good Humor truck. This is an ice cream van. First release of this in 1984 featured the large back window, and harder to see, we'll have to zoom in on the side. It says Popsicle to the right of that concession window. These are noteworthy details if you're collecting this model, because many releases of this vehicle with subtle changes have been released over the years following 84. This version is worth about $10. And now I will just show you some of the comparables, as we will look at these in the associated year to look at. This is a 1985 model here. As you can see, Mattel for some reason blacked out Popsicle. Other than that, The only difference is that this version now has a Malaysia base, whereas the original had a Hong Kong base. In 1985, the same vehicle was released again with a Malaysia base. However, this time, Popsicle has been replaced with Strawberry. It still features the large window, and it wasn't until 1988 that yet another version featured a small window at the back. This is also a Malaysia version, and as you can see, the tampo work with Strawberry is the same on the sides. However, the blue in the tampos has been reversed with the red. Now, I could go on with all of the die-cast models in these years like this, comparing them year by year, but as you know, these videos would take forever, so I only do it when the changes are so subtle that they do need to be noteworthy. Rapid Transit. This first edition casting features clear windows, a metal base, and a yellow plastic body. It is more commonly found with the tinted windows in 1985. However, for 84 there were two variations. One roof vent on this one, or two roof vents. Both variations seem to be worth about the same, at $10 to $15 in mint condition. Quite a heavy piece considering how much plastic there is. That can be attributed to the fact that all of the seats are made of metal. Quite a slab of die cast if you look through the wheel wells. The Rolls-Royce Silver Phantom 2. In later years, this same casting will be released right up into the 1990s with virtually no differences from these first released 1984 models. However, the Phantom 2 portion of the name will be dropped to its name as seen on the casting of just Rolls-Royce. It was available in 84 with either black wall or white wall wheels. White wall wheels were slightly more uncommon, however these are not hard to find. These first edition vehicles can be identified by the Malaysia stamped over base. At some point these must have had a Hong Kong stamp on them. They're worth about $5 to $10 in mint condition, and it should be noted that the plastic roof is removable. So if you see one without a plastic roof, it is missing parts. And in 1990, it's worth mentioning that that same car would be released on a blue card version of the collectibles. This is not it, I don't have it. But the reason I mention is because if you can find this car on this card, it's worth somewhere between $400 and $500 to the blue card collectors. 63 split window Corvette Stingray. Featured the high raker axle on the bottom, stamped over base, and tampo work on the top of the vehicle, all metal otherwise, and will be found in the Real Riders collection as well, which we will get to. This car is worth about $10 mint. This is one of my favorite castings, the Thunderbird Stalker, an all-metal car with a plastic chrome grille and headlights, roll cage, and of course racing tampos with a Valvoline on the hood. This is a heavy car with the gold Hot One wheels making it fast, and it also has suspension, something rarely seen on Hot Wheels even of the day. I have two versions here. The common version that can be found quite easily for about $15 to $20 features a glossy blue trunk and tampo work extending down the side, larger gold Hot One wheels on the back versus the smaller ones on the front. This one here I found randomly when looking on cars on eBay. It features all small gold Hot One wheels, which admittedly make the wheels look a little bit small for those back fenders. That in itself might have been a variation, or it might have been an error. What can't be accounted for me anyways, is the fact that the trunk is a completely different color, a dull dark blue. Possibly this car was released in a later year when the paint mixture had changed slightly, but the bases on both these cars, well, one's Hong Kong, one's Malaysia. Maybe that's the answer. Either way, I don't have any documented facts as to why there's such a difference between these two. I paid about $10 for this one. For me, I wouldn't sell it for $10 as I haven't seen another one. Turbo heater. In my opinion, this car appears to have been based on a Dodge Daytona of the time, or something similar. This car features an opening hood with a metal detailed engine underneath. However, when you attempt to open the hood, it often will chip the bottom of the windshield, which becomes brittle with age as it is only plastic, and it is a very tight fit, as you can see. Unfortunately, my version of this car is not mint. However, I do have a mint version of it on card somewhere in the Hot Wheels lair, but I have no idea where I put it for this video. It featured black wall wheels, a metal base, with Malaysia stamped underneath a bar. I forgot to mention, but the turbo heater is worth around $5 to $10. The same cannot be said for this turbo Mustang, which is quite a bit more valuable due to collector enthusiasm on this casting, and also it is a rare tampo work and paint job. Only released in 1984 with this color variation and gold Hot One wheels, bright yellow metal base. This car is worth around $30 to $50 in mint condition. However, there's an even more valuable version released the same year. Not very often do you see a completely different paint job and tampo work in the same year, especially back in the 80s. This version, with the metallic blue paint job, extending all the way down to the base on the bottom. I have two versions. Whoa! One has a Hong Kong base, one with a Malaysia base. These can be found very rarely on eBay and sell upwards of $100 in mint condition. Highway Hauler, featuring a plastic rear box with opening doors, dual rear axles, black wall wheels, a metal chassis and cab. This truck is quite a pricey one to find in mint condition, anywhere between $30 and $40. The Foam Truck. This is one of my absolute top favorite castings of all time. Released only in 1984, never to be seen again, strangely. Could be possibly due to the sheer weight of this solid metal casting. Well, chassis and body. Plastic armature on the top, and the bucket with the guy in it often becomes dislodged and lost. Also, the whole arm can become lost at the pivot point. These trucks have incredible movement for a $1 toy at the time. As you can see with the bucket down, it also swivels all the way around. Two variations of this truck. One has the Marks Phone Company on the side, orange tampo work, whereas the other simply has Phone Company. I can't remember which one was harder for me to find. Both of them are pretty hard to find in mint condition, but can be found for around $20 to $30 in my experience. It is a very heavy vehicle. Here's the chassis. Both can be found with Hong Kong or Malaysia chassis. From the Extra series, here is the Oshkosh snowplow. Let's see if it says the name on the base so you can spell it out, as it is quite a word. There it is. Malaysia or Hong Kong bases could be found on these vehicles. As you can see, it has a removable front plow, shovel plow, and the two variations I have here, one with the orange centered wheels, off-road wheels, and another with chrome centered wheels. Which one's harder to find, you ask? I don't remember, and I didn't take a note, but they are fairly easy to find. I think the orange one is actually the easier one to find now that I think of it. The chrome one probably worth around $15 to $20, and the orange centered wheeled version around $10 to $15 perhaps. It's worth noting that these vehicles were released over the years and into the 1990s, at which point the rear portion of the truck became made of plastic. There is a correction. Not just the back of the truck became plastic, but in 1990 the entire cab and bucket on the back was made, or hopper, whatever it's called, was made of plastic, whereas you can see the difference between the metal versions. From Action Command, two models released, the first one being the Battle Tank in two color variations. This stubby little tank featured a rotating turret, 360 degrees. Oh, she's stuck. There we go. It also had the tilting gun, and on the back, an opening door revealing the G.I. Joes. Get a closer look on that on this green version. Green plastic door, plastic tracks with small wheels. No title on these, but they were known as the Battle Tank. and can be found for around $5 to $10 in mint condition. The Troop Carrier. I've got 3 variations here. It's a pretty common truck to find for around $10 to $15, but that's only for the most common versions, which have solid black wheels or black basic wheels with a beige center cap. This vehicle here I found by accident from a reputable seller online who was selling a very large collection at the time of vintage black wall wheeled vehicles. And it is something I haven't seen again. It's a very kind of light tan color to the metal portion of the vehicle, and even the plastic portions are a completely different shade of tan from the more common versions that I have previously. Keep in mind also that I don't just have these 3, I have many of these in my collection that I've found over the years, which is why I can ascertain that one with the different color tan paint is possibly quite rare. As you can see there, the Troop Carrier has a removable plastic piece which can be simply attached to the top. All metal base and a plastic roof, which could also be dislodged on more played with versions. I'm not sure what I spent for this one. I can't quite remember. I think it was around $20 though. Let me know if you guys have ever seen one or if you have one in your collection. These next 6 cars we're looking at are from the Ultra Hot series, a new series for 1984 featuring cars with the newly designated UH or Ultra Hot wheel on them, no longer used nowadays. The cars in this series are all generally worth around $5 at most, sometimes $10 if they're mint in the package, but were fairly common. This is the BMW M1, which for the Ultra Hot series was retitled Wind Splitter. Someone has lovingly customized it with red tail lamps. Those are not normally painted. Here's an older casting, now released as the Flame Runner. As you can see, it has a large plastic engine on the back, red little engine or power pack or perhaps guns in the hood. All metal base, however, stamped Malaysia. The Porsche 928, retitled Predator for the Ultra Hot series. I should note that all of these cars in the Ultra Hot series were also found with Hong Kong or Malaysia base. We have a Soul Air CX4 now on the dial. 2 variations exist for that one, silver metallic paint or the Zamac unpainted version. Detailed engine under the hood. These are fast cars on racetracks. They're also quite heavy as they are solid die cast with only a small plastic window. The Speed Seeker is a brand new casting for 1984, as was the Soul Air CX4 that we just looked at. This is another all metal casting, and it's actually titled Speed Seeker. Later it would be titled many different things, including Demon and a few other names that I can't think of at the moment. Has an interesting cockpit with the tilt-up dual windows. Here's a classic casting from yesteryear, the Quick Trick, based on the Race Bait 308. This is another all-metal car, which again someone has lovingly customized with red tail lamps. Normally it just features a solid black metal base. It has been renamed on the base as the Quick Trick, whereas in previous versions is either unnamed or Race Bait 308. Nice little Ferrari. Now let's finally get into everyone's favorite series, the Real Riders. Here is the 3-window 34 featuring gray hub wheels, black plastic fenders, and I dug out the basic mainline wheeled version here for you just so you could see that they are actually the exact same casting other than the wheels, including both having the high raker rear axle. Get that car out of the picture here. I've actually got 2 nice versions of these. Not sure why they're both on my shelf, but there they are. This car was also available with a white hub wheel variation in this year. However, it is extremely rare. Rarely does it come up, and I think the last time I missed out on it, it sold for $175. These gray hub versions are worth around $30. The Baja Breaker. Same as the Mainline version that we looked at with the basic wheels. This one now features the gray hub reel riders, or the very rare version with the white hub reel riders. I was very lucky to find this van after years of searching. I had a very beat up filler in my collection. I managed to scoop that one for $200. The gray hub version is worth around $20. If you're buying these secondhand, well, obviously they'll be secondhand, but be very careful to check that the axles are authentic, as this is an easy wheel swap. You must ensure that the center pin on the axle is a flattened circle, not square or snipped, as that is often what customizers do to replace axles on these vehicles and wheels. So as you can see, this is an authentic version, and just another up-close comparison to the gray one, which no one would bother doing that to. You can see that it has a round silver head on the center of the axle. I'm not entirely sure why it is that the white hub versions are more valuable than the gray hub, but I can only assume that they were harder to find and are of a lower production. Hence, the same is true for the pricing on these Baja Bugs. All metal castings, white hub centers or gray hub. The white hub is worth around $30 to $40, the gray hub around $20 to $25. I like that on this model it actually features the smoother road tires for the front wheels and the nubby off-road tires on the back wheels. Since the tires are actually removable from the rim, if you buy played with versions, you may find all sorts of combinations of tires if they have been replaced by youngsters. Here's an awesome brand new casting for '84, the Dodge Rampage. This cool little actual real life vehicle features a very uncommon these days three-wheel trike in the back, gray hub wheels or white hub wheels once again, and street tires. Stamped Dodge Rampage with a Malaysia base. They can also be found with a Hong Kong base. These are actually fairly easy to come across, but in mint condition not so much. White hub version worth around $25 to $30, gray hub $15 to $20. Here's an interesting new casting for '84, and one that has been re-released to this day in the pop culture lineup of Hot Wheels. This is the Dream Van XGW. However, back in the old days, it was available with an opening door featuring a very interesting custom interior with a doggy sitting on the floor. Gray hub wheels or white hub wheels. White hub worth around $40, gray hub worth around $25. The Jeep Scrambler. This is the 1984 version featuring silver metallic paint and the white hub-centered reel riders. There were two paint variations released in this year, including the silver version and this very nice looking black version. Both featured only white hub wheels, no gray hub variations for either of these vehicles in 1984. However, in 1983, if you're wondering why that vehicle looks familiar, that's when it was first released with the gray hub reel riders, one in a very rare gray enamel paint and the more common silver metallic paint. This version with the white hub wheels for 1984 worth around $40 to $50, and about the same for this black version with white hub wheels. Lightning Gold. This casting has been renamed several times over the years since its first introduction back in 1974 as the El Rey Special. The Lightning Gold found itself now on nice new rubber tires with white rims or gray. Gray rim variation worth around $15. White rim variation worth around $25. It's worth noting that a much harder vehicle to find in 1985 will be the exact same car but now running on Blackwall wheels. If you can find one of these, you might get lucky and pick it up for around $10 or $15 as I did. However, I would price it as being more expensive due to its apparent scarcity. And finally, rounding out the last of the real riders in '84 is this '63 split window Corvette Stingray, featuring gray hub wheels, a high raker axle, and not to be confused, the white hub version of this car was not released until 1985 and will be in its respective video. Both cars are worth around $15 to $20. Bonus footage. I have 5 cars that are not from the North American market. I do have some pricing and information on their origins. We're going to take a quick look at some of these awesome international released cars. Some vintage Hot Wheel collectors may recognize this model based on the Pontiac J2000 casting. This car was released in Mexico in 1984. Some people have said it's a Canadian release, but I highly doubt that. It doesn't have the Mexico or any other branding on the bottom other than Malaysia, but it is not from the North American market, that is to be sure. It was also found with this exact same paint scheme and tamper work with gold Hot One wheels. This version cost me $175. The gold Hot One version sold for $300. I have only seen these cars come up twice. Here's a very rare large charge featuring orange enamel paint and a digital kind of tampo on the back, high voltage with lightning bolts. This car was also made in Cipsa, Mexico. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know actually for sure. Somebody can correct me out there if need be. And produced under the Aramat licensing. Same as the Pontiac J2000. Although not all cars reflected that on the base. This one does not either. It is a very similar car to the North American market's 1979 large charge, or car that was released in '79. Featuring just a different tampo. This tampo is actually one released on a later car, so it's kind of a combination of several large charges. Quite a rare piece, worth around $45 if found mint. The next 3 cars I have were released in France. This is the BMW M1 featuring basic wheels, all small wheels, metal base, made in France, right on the bottom. This identical car with real riders was released in the North American market 1 year prior, so 1983. I think one of these cars here would be worth around $30 if bought online, especially in such nice condition such as this one, but it pairs very well with my North American version. And here's the 80s Firebird yet again, very similar to the North American release one that we looked at earlier in this video. The North American one has red interior, but in France it was found with a tan interior. Personally, I like the tan version a whole lot better. And once again, you can see it says made in France right above the drivetrain. That one's worth around $25 if you can find one. And the final casting for the video is the Up Front 924, based on a Porsche 924. This car also released in France, available for about $25 to $30 nowadays. It was featured with 3 variations. One, just as you see it here, and a second one with a window-mounted ski rack featuring 2 sets of skis on the back window made of black plastic, and a final one with a, I think it had either tinted window or no tampo, one or the other. I can't exactly verify that these were all released in '84, but to my best study and knowledge, this is true. Anyways, that's all the cars. Thanks for taking this journey with me to check out all these cool old vintage Hot Wheels. Stick around, lots more videos to come. Hopefully a little bit more often than once a month. The next video, of course, will be 1985. Happy hunting.